You must be careful about the words you use, or the words you allow to be used in your house. Words are things. You must be careful. Careful about calling people out of their names, using racial pejoratives and sexual pejoratives and all that ignorance. Don't do that.
It's time to talk about it.
Pull up a chair and take a seat.
We're serving up recipes for life.
With Hampton University's Dr. Richard Mason and Dr. Tamara Williams.
Welcome to the Sunday Brunch.
This is Dr. Tamara Williams.
And this is Dr. Richard Mason. And welcome to another edition of Sunday Brunch with the Good Doctors.
Hey, bro.
How you doing, sis?
All is well.
Yeah, everything's going good. It's always good to be back at the table once again.
I look forward to being at the table.
Oh, of course. You know me. Anytime some good food is served, I'm right here.
And good conversation, good topics.
Exactly.
Never a dull moment at Sunday Brunch.
Never. So what was your week like?
A week is like every other week we've always had. That's how we measure it. That's how we know that we're still here in the living, that we're saying that if it's busy, then it's right.
Exactly.
If it's slow, then it's wrong. And it hasn't been wrong in quite some time, so.
Listen, it's still busy. And It's just going and going.
Even in my sleep, it's busy.
Exactly. You know, well, I tell folks, just keep on living. It's going to be all right.
Hey, I tell my students all the time, I'm up 4:30 in the morning. People look at me and like, that's crazy. But I go down early, too. But I'm up early so that I can talk to myself before the world talks to me. And when it's quiet, that's when I can really understand what I need to do for the day.
Well, I don't get up early.
I
to
know
talk
you
to
don't.
Me. No,
That's where we differ.
Yeah, I don't get up early. And don't call and talk to me. Talk to yourself. All right?
I prefer to talk to Jesus that time in the morning anyway. No worries. I'm not going to call you.
Now, when I do get up,
right.
Okay, I do talk to Jesus and I talk to myself. All
yes,
right?
And we agree with what happens next. Bacon is involved.
Yeah,
see, and that's where we meet.
That's it. You already know.
Yes,
you know?
yes. So I get up and I start the baking for my family. They know it's time to get up. They smell it coming through the house.
Bacon or dessert. You understand?
Hey.
Do I tell folks eat dessert first? Life is uncertain.
Hey. I start there. And I'm good with it because that's the part I know I want.
Listen. That's what I do. I keep my fork for a reason.
Hey, I will use my fingers if necessary. But anyway, we can chat all day between the two of us. We don't need a reason. We don't need a cause. It's always a good time to just be amongst people where iron can sharpen iron and
exactly.
just have a good conversation. And I'm excited about what we're talking about today. Not excited in the sense of like, ooh, this is going to be just a fun topic, but
right.
Excited because of what it can do for the people listening.
Exactly. Enlightenment is one of those things that the more you grow in life, you know, when you are enlightened in certain areas, you know, that's the blessing right there. And so I'm excited as well about the show. Got my good friend here with us today, you know, and so, you know, he and I have conversations on a regular basis, you know, so it's time to share, you know, and put some of these things on the table, you know, so others can experience the joy, but also the understanding that in terms of some of the things that he's been through and how to manifest these things into triumphs for yourself. Because life presents us with challenges, but it's how you walk through those challenges that will make a difference. And when I tell you, when you hear the story, you know, our listeners will certainly be enlightened.
Opportunities over obstacles. And so I'm excited because this is an opportunity for us to hear from another Black man. And we don't often, I think there's a misconception that you guys are not in touch with your feelings, don't have any feelings, don't know how to communicate or express your feelings, or often people assume that you're not actually going through, but every person living and breathing has something that they actually go through. So right. I'm excited that we get to make this more real for people to understand that if someone is not saying something, that doesn't mean they're not feeling something.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It's a mask that we've learned to wear.
And we've been wearing some masks. Some people are getting real comfortable with these masks, too.
Hey.
Hiding behind these masks. Can't even breathe.
That part.
cutting off their supply.
That's all I'm gonna say is that part.
Some of them, well, we won't go there. We won't go there. We're gonna stay on that up and up. But I wanted to talk about our guest today because we've had a topic similar in the sense that we've talked about adoption before, but everybody's story has very intricate nuances that make it their story. Maybe some similarities, but it's not because it's their story specifically. So I'm excited. Usually I'm the one that says who the guest is while you go and get the food, but because this is your friend.
You sure?
I say
I want to fix my plate.
okay.
He know me. I'm gonna go ahead and fix my plate.
You want to fix your plate?
I'm gonna go fix my plate.
You know what I want you to bring me
I
back
got your
to.
biscuit and I got your butter.
Thank you. Honey butter, please. Honey butter. Okay, so let's talk. I want to welcome to Sunday Brunch Johnny Underwood. And he's going to talk to us today about his story, and how he found out even about his adoption and what has happened since then, and what that means as a man to be adopted and to be looking for those answers and concerns. So, welcome to the show.
I thank y'all for having me.
Welcome.
Good to be here with the good doctors.
Yes, it's good to have you.
Absolutely. Well, I want to address one thing. You talked about us as men and not being in touch with our feelings. We are taught at a young age to suppress, not to share emotions. And that manifests as you get older. And what happens is now you don't really know how you're supposed to respond. And it just causes a challenge with just trying to be right in life because it's been redefined for us. And the world defines masculinity or manhood in one way, and then you have so many other definitions, and the bottom line is most of them are wrong because what we've been modeled and what has been shown to us is not healthy. And then by the time we figure out what is healthy, we're almost in our 50s. And now we're just playing recovery. So your topic of grief and adoption, and I have a story to tell, and I'm excited to share it. Starting when I was in first grade, I remember my mother called me in the house. I was outside playing. We drink out the water hose. We playing football in the street. Can't do that now. Nah, totally different now. And we were talking, and she said, I need to tell you something. And I said, okay, what's up? And she said, you were adopted.
Wait a minute. So first grade you found out?
First grade.
Like 6 years old?
6 years old.
Okay.
And
come on off that hose.
At the moment, I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And I said, so what are you saying? And she said, somebody else gave birth to you, and then your father and I, we raised you. And I remember very clearly, my first instinct was, so are y'all putting me out? Do I need to go back? Like, are you returning it? Like, with the receipt, what's going on?
So your father and I raised you, so your father was not your biological father either. Okay,
No. Nope.
Okay.
But you had his name.
Oh, yeah, he gave me his name.
Wait a minute.
Absolutely. He, I'm the third.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. So this is the part that's crazy. So over time, I began to ask questions because you want to know where you're from.
Yeah.
But
Did you look like them?
I did. That's what's even crazier. I guess they say if you feed them long enough, they start to look like.
There you go. There you go.
My folks are from Birmingham, Alabama, so we had yams and we had dressing, not stuffing,
Things to know.
dressing. But what was very interesting is I would ask my mom, talk to me about my biological family. And she would say, well, the file is closed. You can't open it up. And I said, okay. And in the moment, out of respect for my mom, I left it alone. My mom passed in 2013. And my father and our relationship took a turn, and then he moved in with us. So we became more like peers, that older brother, big brother. And, he and I were talking, and I said, well, Dad, I want to find my biological family. And he said, I want to know too. I said, okay. I said, I just want to make sure you're okay with it because I don't want to do anything that you would feel slighted. He said, no, I'm on board. So I reached out to start getting the information. And that's another information piece because a lot of people that are adopted don't even know how to start that process.
Because your mother told you it was closed.
Exactly. And once I became 18, I could petition to open it.
Oh.
This is where it gets real interesting. The Catholic charities that handled my adoption was in Hampton Roads. I went to Hampton University.
You're home by the sea.
Home by the sea. Watch this. So my mom was young when she had me. She was moved to this area to give birth to me, so everybody wouldn't know.
That's
so she
that
was
old.
not from this area, but her family placed her with this Catholic charity that moved her here.
Well, Catholic Charities handled the adoption, but she had a family member here.
Okay, gotcha.
You know how they would do. They would move
Yeah.
people from the city and send them down south.
That's right.
You know, because they,
And then raise them like your sibling when it's really your child. Okay.
So at that point, I'm starting to get the information. The social worker said when she got my file, she had never seen a file that had such copious notes. It had details from the first moment that the case was open. The case manager would go by the house every other week, and they would, I guess, do like a counseling session, for lack of better words. So it has very specific details of how my biological mom was thinking and feeling and what she was dealing with, having been transitioned in high school back to here, away from all of her friends and, having to deal with being pregnant, the transition of not being at home.
I'm sure being alone.
Being alone. So all of those.
The shame
Yeah.
that I'm sure that people
Correct.
placed on her.
Absolutely. So, so me reading the file, I had a level of concern because.
That's traumatic in itself.
Exactly.
Never meeting someone, but yet hearing their internal thoughts, things that you don't typically share with someone without
Correct.
consent. Yeah.
I always wanted to know where I came from. I didn't have a void. Let me put that on the table. I was loved. Johnny and Carolyn, they loved me, and they stepped up to the plate. Like he said earlier, he gave me his full name.
Made you the third.
They made me the third.
Did they call you Trey?
They didn't call me Trey. They called me John.
Okay.
They called me John. So it wasn't that I was seeking my biological family from a standpoint of I'm upset or I need something. I had to write a letter, and in the letter I said the main thing that I want to do is just say thank you. I wanted
For thinking enough of me
for making the decision.
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to say that the choice that you made yielded good fruit. And as we began to get the file, the case manager had to black out certain information so it's non-identifying. But you know how we do. I just put it up to the light. I put it to the light and started connecting the dots.
We did it at the same time. We can read you some things.
Exactly. So as we put it up to the light, we began to see information in different locations and things of that nature.
Light is revealing.
Light is revealing. It's all about the light. So I am excited just because I have something that I've never had before. And even if I don't get anything else, I've at least got a story. Okay? But I wanted to know, do I have any brothers? Do I have any sisters? Like
aunts, grandparents,
So Facebook, Google, we start just going through. My wife and her best friend, we just start sending messages, and we're up from like 11 o'clock at night to 6 the next morning. This is 2018. We got a hit back. And one of the guys said, I don't know who you are, and I don't know where you get this information, but you need to stop. Well, and you had to think about it. If somebody comes out the woodworks with all the scams going on these days, so again, I'm very sober in this because I recognize me coming back in, and you don't know what's on the other side of that equation.
You don't know if you were a secret.
Exactly. So I'm cautious, but my wife's best friend, she's like, let's go. We need to find out. Let's get it.
Yeah.
And what was so crazy, the guy was actually my brother. And what he did, because she gave the information. She said, I'm not a crazy person. You know, when you start off saying I'm not a crazy
Right.
person.
That
mean-
sounds like
that means you crazy.
That sounds like
But you got to have one on your
Right,
team. You got to
right,
have a few of them
right.
on your team. Trust me when I tell you.
No comment.
You must be the one.
No, but I can recognize it. And I go on running.
Come on. So she gave him my information and said, listen, look him up. This is legit. He just got the file open. We just want to know if this is possible. What he did, he pulled up my Facebook to see who he was friends with.
Mm-hmm.
And when he pulled it up, we had a mutual friend that worked with my wife at Hampton High School. That was also his neighbor growing up. So automatically he calls. Do you know this Johnny Underwood
Right,
and this
right.
and that? He said, yeah. He said, good man. I work with his wife, church. Yeah, what's wrong? Well, I just wanted to know. Cool.
Make sure it's not a scam.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
But also, you just don't know why a person may be reaching out
Exactly.
to
In the
you.
middle of nowhere.
Right.
Because you said from 11 o'clock at night to 6
Yeah.
in the morning.
We-
So you,
we getting it.
late in the midnight hours.
Getting it. So I did the same thing. Once I saw the name, I said, well, let me see if it's any cross references. And I remember I got up for work because I had just started working for a new school division. And I said, well, maybe I should reach out. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. Just still trying to be very sober. I said, well, Janice, you call because you used to work with him and see. So when my wife called him, she said, hey, I got something, that may sound a little crazy, but, and he said, well, what's going on? He said,
But but to know his wife, and as you said, I could hear her in my ear saying that. But anyway, go ahead. Shout out to Janet. Shout out to Janet.
Shout
All
out to
right.
Dr. Underwood. And he said, well, what's going on? She says, well, John is adopted, and we just opened up his file, and we think we have found his biological family. And you are Facebook friends with them. And he said, well, that's interesting. I was just talking to my neighbor, and this is what he said. Oh, my God. John looks just like his mother.
Wow.
Yeah. So, mind you, 30 plus years, I don't
just
have anything.
It just clicked to him. He's like, you know what?
So,
He looks just like this dude's mama.
the first thing we say is,
That might be my mama.
like, what you talking about, Willis? That type of situation.
Right.
And then he says, no, I know the family. I live next to them. We've gone on vacation. Great family. Okay, now I'm comforted. So I'm the oldest. My next brother in line, he reaches out because he used to work nights. So he's just getting caught up on everything. He was like, I just woke up. Give me some time to process.
Yeah.
And I got to
He's
respect
like,
that.
this is
Right.
early.
Yeah, this is a lot.
Right.
This is a lot.
Yeah.
So he,
Mama ain't never say nothing about this.
well, check this out. So he says, I found out about you when I was in college. I went to A&T. Came home one weekend, and his aunt said, you know you got a brother.
Leave it up to the aunt.
Aunt dropped the ball.
always the aunt.
Leave it up to the auntie. All right.
And he said, what you talking about? So he followed through, and, it kind of got pushed under the rug, but it was evidence that something was there. So he and I, we talk a little bit more, and what's interesting, he and I played against each other in high school football. And we just had some parallels. We had some parallels. So I'm like, wow.
You lived in the same city.
No.
You didn't live in the same
We didn't live in the same city. I'm from Richmond.
Okay.
They were from a smaller country town. But my high school team will go up and play that team on a
What are
scrimmage.
the chances of that?
So we get to talking. I'm just like, wow, that's amazing. So the younger brother wasn't as accepting at the beginning because he was more the protector. Again, I respect it. I'm sober in it. We began to talk a little bit more, and once he recognized that I wasn't there for a scam, I wasn't out to try and break up nobody's family, he embraced me. And we met, talked, and really got to know each other. So I'm like, all right, I got one piece of the puzzle, I got another piece of the puzzle. my biological mom's sister, she reached out because, again, when you start going on Facebook, you just want to see. So go back to the best friend of my wife. She says, well, I got an Ancestry.com test that you can take. And let's see if it'll work out. Let's see the connected dots.
It's connected quite a few people.
Them dots are dotting.
Hey.
Them dots have told some stories.
I'll tell you right now.
They have.
Yeah.
So I do the kit, and her sister is the first person that pops up. So she sends me a message. I know that we're family, and I think I know the connection. Would you be willing to talk? Absolutely. So, well, let me back up. I didn't mention this part. When the social worker gave me the file, she said that she had sent letters to biological mom, grandma, and a sister. Biological mom said, not right now. She said, I'm not saying never, but not right now. Grandma said, that's not my place. That's my daughter's story. If she wants, she can, but I'm not going to overstep. The baby sister was like, yeah, I want to talk to him.
Right.
She was like,
I'm like, somebody in here got to want to know what it's, yeah.
because she was I think she may be 11 years older than me. So she remembers.
Older than you?
Yeah, so she remembers
Oh.
that season of what was going on. And she said, I figured it out once I got older. She says, but I didn't really know where my sister went. And it wasn't coffee table conversation either.
Right.
So again, it's why I'm very sober and respectful of what mom said, because I don't want to be at a place where I overstep and then she shuts the door permanently.
I find that very interesting that you are very concerned about her feelings. Very concerned about her feelings.
Well,
as the son, as a child that has been, put up for adoption, that you are concerned about her feelings. That is very, that's a nuance there.
Well, I will say this. You had to know his parents, and I'm speaking about Carolyn and Big John. You had to know his parents to understand where all of this comes from.
Yeah.
that's how.
I mean, that's a level of growth that most people never self-actualize to.
Well,
to be able to, because it's being, we talked a little bit before, but like being adopted, that comes with a lot of different understandings about yourself, questions about yourself, even questions about your self-worth and your value and those type of things. And so to never have met someone, but to wanted to know who this individual is, and then to get that close and for them to say, no.
So-
and it's like, if not now, then when? For me, I'm more of an impatient person because I'm like, Jesus, I've been waiting my whole life for you. Like, we said eating dessert first at the beginning of the show because
Yes.
time is not promised. And so it's like, hey, excuse me, ma'am. You may run out of time.
and that was my brother's thing. Well, he said, don't let you be on your deathbed and then you want to see him.
Yeah.
But for me, because I had waited for so long, I still had the hope, and I didn't want to close that door. And my brother and I were talking, and he said, well, no, she needs to meet you. And I said, well, the reality at the lowest level, I said, me coming back into the picture may be an inconvenience. Because it might be a reminder of a dark period. Well, because I didn't know everything. So just knowing the age, and we talked about potential shame and things of that nature. So, and because I'm in the mental health field now, trauma is real.
Yeah.
Yes.
She could have been raped, any of those types
Exactly.
of situations. Yeah.
And back then, trauma was not identified for what it is. It was just, we don't talk about that, y'all go upstairs.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
Exactly.
And having that understanding, I really wanted to, like I said, be respectful. The other problem is, and this I think goes back to us as men, we're silent sufferers. So on some levels, it was therapeutic for me to be more concerned with her feelings than
Then
deal
to
with
deal
mine.
with your own. Okay. Thank
You
you
see what I'm
for your
saying?
honesty, because I was trying to figure out where this thing.
Now I'm not gonna say it wasn't tough.
Yeah.
Because there was that little child came out of me like,
Yeah.
really, you gonna turn me down again?
And that's
That's
what
truth.
I
Right.
felt.
That's
That-
truth.
Yeah.
But I had to say, all right, I can't stay there
Yeah.
because I'm just throwing dirt at the wall that's not gonna stick.
And you did have some people in the family that were very welcoming and wanted.
Absolutely.
To, right.
But then I had some that say, oh no. And I had to respect that. That's their truth.
Now, did the father part come up?
So in my file, they had one person named as my father. Somebody said, "No, that ain't your daddy."
Was that the auntie?
That was the auntie.
See, I knew it. I knew it.
The same auntie?
Yeah, because she knew everything. She was like, "No, that ain't your daddy."
Okay, I'm not going to
knew it was
die
an
and not
auntie.
let you know what happened. Keeping me up at night.
So I can't confirm or deny what's what, but the person that she identified, he passed away in 2009. And to look at the picture, I can see it. It's possible. It's very possible. So I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. I've met both of my brothers, and had the opportunity to meet an aunt. Aunt came to Ivy. Her and her daughter came and sat in there. She adopted a child, so it's not foreign, this adoption ecosystem, so to speak. And February 1st, my adopted father, Johnny Underwood, he passed away. And get ready for this one, all right? That,
Thank you for the warning.
yeah, I'm just gonna tell you because it's about to take you there. You're about to get choked up. So he passes on February 1st. I come back home because the services aren't going to be till the 16th, and we're trying to get things straight. And I come back from work because I went back to work to try and just get busy. And
Are you the only child from your adopted
I'm the only
parent?
child.
Okay.
I'm the only child. So that following Tuesday, I look and there's a Facebook message, and I recognized the name, biological mom. She had accepted my friend request and had put on Facebook, "Condolences on losing your father."
How long had, but get this now. How long had that friend request been sitting there on Facebook?
For 2 years. So
She had been watching.
Well, let me connect the
Yeah.
dots. Because my brother had called me that weekend and he said, "Yo, my aunt told me your dad passed." I said, "Yeah, he did." And we talked. So I'm not sure if he told her or the sister or what had happened. So I'm excited now because I'm like, okay, this is the first contact. I don't want to mess this up. So I send back a messenger. "Thank you for accepting my friend request. I appreciate you offering condolences." And I'm like, do I stop right there? Because I don't want to overstep. I don't want to mess this up. So I just hit send, and I waited. Like that child looking out the window for your daddy to come home and never show
see?
up.
Come on now.
But she never responded back. But even with that, I was cool. So
To this day, never
wait,
responded?
let me finish.
Okay.
This just happened a few weeks ago. Get ready.
I'm telling you, she
You
got
are impatient. I see it.
Her fork is in the dessert, y'all. Her fork is in the dessert.
So
Because when people use words like never, I'm like, the finality of these things.
right, that's forever, ever.
We were on the same page.
You got them Reese's cups. I told you on the same page. So, no response from Messenger that day. And I said, okay, no problem. And I just continue every day I look to see. So 2 days later, there's a message that pops up. And the message says, "I don't usually use Messenger, but I downloaded it once I saw you sent me something." Okay. All right. Still very sober. Don't cry yet. Trust me. You about to cut on the waterworks.
No.
Oh yeah. So
And she is sitting on the edge of this seat,
I'm like,
y'all.
no.
She is sitting on the edge of
I need
this
some
seat.
more bread.
hey, this needs to be a book. I just thought about it. This needs to
Yes,
be a book.
yes, it does.
Yes, it should be.
So get the message and we communicate, and I say, "I promise you I will not overstep. Thank you for reaching out. Whenever you are ready, I'm open and available." Left it at that. Cool. So now I'm preparing for my father's service, which is February 16th, like 2 weeks ago. Okay?
Like 2 weeks ago.
2023.
We not in 2022. We in 2023. Yeah.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. And 3 years prior to my father passing, he asked me to do his eulogy. And I said, okay, I got you. I'll do it. One of the toughest things I've ever had to do, but one of the most honorable things. So I go up, and because of other things going on, my flesh wanted to go one direction. But God said, "No, I need you to do this." And I give the eulogy. I paint the picture of who my dad is.
A good man. John
The steps.
II.
Junior. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. That was my anchor right there. And I just showed the three things that he always demonstrated and tied it to our community. Because as I looked out in the crowd, there were so many of my peers from high school. Marvin Jones' dad, he came, 'cause that was my high school teacher. You know what I'm saying? So it was so much of a thumbprint that my dad had on our community. And I took for granted how much our neighborhood wasn't the common. Let me tell you what I mean. On a Saturday morning, it was nothing to see all the fathers out there cutting grass, washing cars, playing music, drinking champagne or beers, Miller High Life.
The high life, y'all.
The high life.
Yeah.
It's the high life.
You know what I'm saying?
With yards.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
With,
yes,
you know,
yards.
that was just what we grew up seeing. And when I got to college and came in contact with other people that didn't have a father in the house or whatever different dynamics, it was foreign to me. I couldn't comprehend it. So I'm painting this picture so that those who have come to this service pay respect to my father, and they're standing up clapping, and you know, I was able to sing a little something, make a joyful noise, and
Really?
yeah, you know, yeah.
You ain't tell me. You can
It's
say
it's on Facebook. I sent it to you. And after as the preacher says, we took him to Christ.
All right.
I said, the last thing I want to say to y'all, I need y'all to understand that I was adopted. Now, this is important, okay? Hold on. I said, it's no secret that I was adopted, and he chose to give me his name. Really comprehend that. So we finished the service, and I'm come off the platform, and everybody's coming over speaking to me. And I'm speaking to everybody, but I'm like tired, worn out.
Emotionally exhausted.
Emotionally gone, because I compartmentalize everything for this moment to paint this picture, because this is
You
my
do
assignment.
right by your father because he asked you to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm standing up and I'm shaking hands, and this lady comes over and she's talking, and I'm like trying to hear what she's saying, but I can't really hear. And she looks familiar, but I don't know. And I'm like, okay.
She look real familiar.
Real familiar. So we go back to the repast, and one of Carolyn Underwood's good friends comes up to me, and she says, "Did you see your biological mom?" Because she grew up with my biological mom. And she said, she was there, and she stood in line and came over and talked to you. And I said, oh my gosh. She went to my wife, grabbed her by the hand, my biological mom, and said, I just need you all to know I was here to support. And my wife, again, don't really know. And then I start crying when they tell me this. Because
that's what got you. to
that's
this.
what got me. I'm just like, wow. I'm going to take it a step further. So my cousin is going through her phone, and she says, is this her? She just happened to be taking pictures, and she said, God told her to take this picture, and you can see her just as clear as day.
Look just like you.
Just like me. So I'm just like, wow, okay. So now I reach out to my brother. I say, hey, man, send me a number.
Mom came.
Well, I had to be cautious because now I want to be very sober. I said, listen, she came to the service. Let me get her number. He was like, seriously? She came? I was like, yeah. So he sent me the number. And again, my text that I sent was, thank you for coming. Truly appreciate it. You blessed me more than I can say. She said, not a problem. And then I said, let me know when you're ready to talk. Being anxious. And she said, well, in due time. She said that God told her to come that day. She said that, yeah. She said that her prayers had been answered. When she saw me eulogize my father. And this is why I say you never know why God has you doing certain things. My thought process was, I'm just here to honor my father.
You put her at peace.
She said God had answered her prayers because she had been praying, was I safe? Was I happy? So not only was she able to hear the story of Johnny Underwood Jr., she was able to hear my life story as well, and to hear the support and love, because how I painted
She
the
saw
picture.
who you were surrounded by.
Exactly. And then can you imagine what she was thinking standing in that line to come
I
over
don't know
and
how she stayed, because that's a lot to, you know. On
She
the
said
other
God
side,
told her
that's
to do
a lot
it.
to sit through, and the guilt or everything else that she may be feeling, you know, and to see, and it takes you all the way back to that moment, and then you think about, as you're telling the stories, all the things that she missed.
And
Yeah.
adoption is, you know, a challenge. I've worked with families over the years just dealing with the adoption process. Being a parent who's given up a child for adoption, or being a child who was adopted, you know, helping people navigate those waters, you know, and it's a difficult task regardless of the circumstances behind the child to make the decision. I can't be what that child needs at this moment in time. Instead of putting that child in a situation to be abused, to be neglected, giving that child the opportunity to be raised in a household, in a loving environment, you know, making that choice to put that child in a positive place says a lot about the person.
It does say a lot about the person. But on the child side, when they come back and see that you gave me up, but yet I have these siblings that you did not give up, and you had this fortitude for them, like, you know, where was that with me? And so it's a hard journey.
So let me give you my thought process. I always say I'm part of the generation that kind of messed up the natural progression of things. We were the babies having babies, where you had parents now being peers because we weren't at a place. I got 35-year-old friends that they were grandparents already.
Oh, yeah. 15 to do it.
Exactly. So what kind of wisdom you dropping at 35?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This is why now the generation does not respect the gray hair. Whereas when we grew up, anybody that had the gray hair, yes ma'am, yes sir.
That's right.
It was a different level of respect because we were used to seeing that matriarch in the house. So they don't have that. So for me, growing up, seeing, like you said, at 15, or the abortions that took place.
Right.
So I always had an appreciation that I could have just been aborted.
Exactly.
That was my reality. That was my truth. I was spared. I was allowed to grow up in
And your
this
parents
household.
told you early.
Because my mom said, I don't want you to be at the family reunion. And Auntie Lulu drinking that beer.
Because she knew Auntie was
She
gonna
knew because she had
tell.
already cussed out Auntie Lulu one time before.
Right. Because, you know, Auntie Lulu get that highlight for you know what I'm saying? She get two of them little highlight ponies in
Come
it.
on, say so.
It's a wrap, all right?
So they wanted to make sure that,
You got it from them.
right, she said she did not want me to be at a place where I come back and say, why didn't you ever tell me?
Yeah.
And in the moment, like I said, I didn't really understand it.
Because 6 is young.
Very young.
Yes.
And I went back outside when my boys playing football, and I said, yo, I'm adopted. And they were like, yo, you lying. I said, no, go ask my mama. So all of us went back in the house.
Is it true? Because it sounds like you just made this up.
Right. So but it was such a gift that was given to me at a young age. And
You had a great life.
I had a phenomenal life. My story is a powerful one, and each piece is a significant part of the puzzle. And if you take out one of those pieces, then I'm not who I am. And then if I'm not who I am, then Janice is not connected with me. I'm not at Ivy, so I might not have met you. Might not have met Jay. You know what I'm saying? So it's so many different dynamics that how you are 6 degrees of separation. So I'm thankful for my story. Let me give you another part that might make you cry a little bit.
Why is his goal to try to make me cry? I just want to hear your story. I don't want
So like I told you, my father passed on February 1st.
February 1st.
His birthday would have been February 19th. My oldest daughter's birthday is February 21st. When I had my first daughter, I cried because that was the first blood sibling I ever saw. So she had a different, meaning to me. And she takes pride in that. She was like, yo, I'm your first blood relative. Come on, broski. Like, that's the type of relationship we got.
Yes.
So it
was a different type of thing.
It was a
for
different
you
thing, right? So
to
when my
touch
wife,
her specifically,
exactly, and I told my wife, I said,
it was a Simba moment.
Yeah, it was a Simba moment.
Yeah.
Right, Simba moment. My birthday is February 24th, right? So the 19th was difficult for me because it was my dad's birthday. First time in 47 years, not able to go see him, not able to talk to him, right? We grew up with birthdays together. 21st was a little difficult because that was her first birthday without him, right? February 24th, 5 o'clock in the morning, I get a text. Happy birthday. For 46 years, I wondered if you were happy and safe. And I'm so thankful that I was able to see what God has done for you.
That's the best birthday message ever.
So check this out. So I say, for 47 years, I always wondered, did you even remember this day? I'm so thankful to get this text first thing in the morning.
First thing in the morning.
First thing in the morning. I mean, I'm driving like, oh, wait a minute.
That's my mama.
Yeah, I had that moment.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a manifest moment. And as we continue to talk, I said, I would love to talk to you on this day. And she said, just be patient with me.
Hold tight, yeah.
And she explained how God told her to go to the funeral. And it's just a process. And like I told her, again, I will not overstep. I will be respectful. You let me know what works for you.
You're so patient. You're so kind.
I appreciate that.
Hurry up, mama. That's not my story. Hurry up. Let's get some healing going here. Let's get some healing
But you know
going
what?
here. But she's done a phenomenal job.
I am so
I say all
thankful.
of that in jest because it is tight work, and we don't have her here at the table, so
Right.
we don't really know all the nuances
Exactly.
of what it took for her to even
The fact
to
that she
accept
came?
that and to see
Right.
you and a constant reminder, like, you know, it's hard to move past things that you've made mistakes or things that have happened in the past. And so kudos to her for showing up in that way, because that is significant.
Oh, that was huge.
That's significant.
When you see me, I said, hold on. I got the message. And I looked down and said, whoa,
Yeah.
I'm calling. You know?
Yeah, and you've been waiting on that.
Yeah.
But it
And it was complete. Like, her message wasn't like just, okay, happy birthday, but it was a good, complete, thoughtful message. And it gave
It
you a
answered
little
the
bit more
questions.
insight of
Yeah.
what that, you know, I've always remembered. I've always remembered this day. I've always thought of this day.
That's right. And it, for me, again, it's a full circle moment because the chapter with Johnny and Carolyn Underwood, it took a turn. I'm not going to say it's closed because I'm a reflection of them. So that chapter will never be closed. But now that they're in this category, God said, all right, I got you.
I can get you back to your original family.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a restoration moment. And
It's like a Jacob.
what would have happened if I had got up there and acted like a complete idiot giving that eulogy? And she's out there watching. Potentially.
or bashed her
Right. Or,
in that situation, yeah.
or the fact, think about it like this, and I don't know, but I would have to believe that me acknowledging that I was adopted gave a kudos to her because I still remember where I came from. Or I know where I came from.
And she's saying, he's letting everybody know that he's mine.
But he's okay.
And he's okay with being
and that's
mine. Yeah, and that I shared. She shared nicely.
She's the MVP.
You listen. Everybody doesn't have that story. Everybody doesn't get placed in great places, but God is this, like Jacob, Nicole Dominic, like you.
But what's interesting, and sorry to cut you off, we were at the dentist's office, and I'm still riding this high, and I was sharing, I just met my biological mom, and the lady said, well, I ain't trying to meet mine. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Let me dial it back. And she began to talk about how where she was placed at, there was abuse. In addition to abuse with the other siblings that came thereafter. And in that moment, I had to be reminded that I have a gift. That's why I'm very sober and cautious in how I approach it, because I don't want it to be tainted, because it's such a beautiful story. When you deal with the adoptions, you have the child, you have the mother, you have the father, you have the parents, you have other siblings. Everybody's impacted from a different lens, and everybody feels like their vantage point is the most valuable in the moment.
And I'm biased because I feel like yours is so valuable. And I'm always, I'm a child advocate. So I see you, like at that point, I'm like, oh my God, you got to protect the child. And even as you grow, I still see like the child, like you're thinking about that inner child.
The challenging piece, well, not even the challenge, the blessing. So our daughters, because I didn't do it by myself. I take a third of the credit.
Amen. You ain't push nobody
Those
out.
are his girls.
Okay?
He would let you know those are my girls.
You ain't push
I ain't
nobody
getting in
out.
trouble with messing with you, Rick. They don't have any other grandparents. All of our parents have passed away. Well, I shouldn't say that, because my father-in-law, he's still at the house. My wife's father, he lives with us, but my wife's mother, she passed away shortly after my mom passed away. So, Mother's Days and things of that nature are painful because our daughters don't have that grandparent, that grandmother. So now it's like, wow, there's a potential second chance for that. And whatever that relationship may be, even if it's just a call every month, if it's, us connecting on Mother's Day, whatever is allowed, it's appreciated and desired. But I'm not coming from a place of, I got to avoid, like, I
think
need
you're going to get all of that because the energy that you're bringing to it, the way that you've approached your family, they can't help but want to be a part of your life. You're not bringing any toxicity or negativity to it. You actually seem to want to make things better.
I do.
Yeah.
And
I think it's going to be a great story.
A lot of times, I think when you're dealing with adoption in situations like this, when people start to reach out, it's because they want something. You know, hey, I found out that, I'm in renal failure. I need a kidney. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
seriously.
literally.
Seriously.
And when they're taking these tests, they're trying to find relatives because they do need these type of things. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, not saying that you shouldn't reach out, because a part of it is you need to know your biological family for medical reasons.
And so you don't date people who are in your family.
Well, see, now
that's the reason why you really
straight to the old school country mentality.
That is the reason why you're supposed to know.
You know that's your cousin.
Hello, somebody. That is the reason why you're supposed to genetically know, so that you don't have any abnormalities in your kids.
Fact.
Well, you have to know certain things, because even from a perspective of heart disease, diabetes, and things of that nature, those things that are hereditary, because you go to the doctor, what do? They ask you for your social history.
Yeah.
So to share, when my wife became pregnant, the first doctor's visit, we go in and I'm excited, and we had the clipboard and we had to write family history, and I couldn't fill it out. It was one of the most painful things, because black fathers already get a bad rap. So I'm trying to make sure I cross all my T's and dot all my I's, but here's a part of this process that I can't fulfill. So now it reinforces that inadequacy that I tell you always resurfaces in little ways. And if you're not aware of it and call it what it is,
it can manifest in so many ways. It can
manifest into other things that spiral downhill. And that was when my wife said, we're going to find out who your biological family is for health purposes.
Yes. She knew it was important to you.
She saw how it bothered me, and I tried to mask it up. I was like, no, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. I'll be right back. Went in the hallway and broke down.
When people really know you, you was feeding. That's when you start eating, huh?
What? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I would give me a double stack and baked potato. I'm reminiscing right now.
Yeah, we're going to take him out of that. We're in a hopeful place now. We're not going back to that. But, it's amazing. And I like that you talked about how you had support. So even though people think that they're alone, you were able to tap into very supportive individuals around you and surround yourself with very supportive people who, even when you wanted to say, okay, maybe not, they're like, no, we're going to do this. This is important.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even though in this journey, you've come in contact with other people that are adopted, and we have different stories, but at the base of it, there are some similarities. And we've my little support group that I would say. I would send them information. They'd be like, "Oh my gosh, well, what else do you know?" And
Yes.
I looked up who was claimed to be my father and found his obituary in a picture and sent that out. And they were like, "Wow, I see the eyes. I see this. How are you feeling?" Because it was always, I just want to know.
And do you have any siblings on that end potentially?
Well, I don't know yet.
Okay, because
I
then
don't
you
know.
can do like the test and figure out. Yeah.
Well, I did the test, and I can see now they've updated, so it says parent 1 and parent 2. So I haven't really reached out because I guess in my mind, like, he's deceased. I have this part. Let me focus on this, and then that might not even be who. So let me speak to her, and then she can say
Well, if it says parent 2, I'm assuming the biology came through the death.
correct, but I don't know the name. So I don't want to reach out blindly. I got a little PTSD from my brothers.
Somebody smacked your hand. It was like,
Right.
get back.
Exactly. So I'm approaching it very sober, and I'm like, all right, if I can get this part, because at the end of the day, she would know versus somebody else who their perception.
Right.
And that may be the story that she's not ready to tell.
Exactly.
That could be the part.
Exactly.
That she's not ready to discuss.
Very possible.
And back in the day, people had a lot of interesting issues with relatives and situations that occurred. So.
In due time.
In due time, and I'm okay with it.
I'm just amazed, at your story. We talk about this.
And it's still being written too. Oh, my
exactly. That's the beauty of it all. But the thing that I always take our conversations back to, as men, we don't share. We don't talk emotions. And I'm thankful for my circle because we are able to do just that. Several years ago, we did the men's conference.
Naked and not ashamed.
Exactly.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And being able to really take the mask off.
That's right.
And that's where you begin to truly heal from past traumas.
It's necessary.
And past.
You can clean the wounds, but you got to take the bandage off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And see, some of us try to heal a wound acting as
And
if
not clean it.
and not clean it, trying to act as if it doesn't exist.
Gets infected.
Exactly.
Now you're
And
losing limbs.
Listen, you in the hospital getting your arm or your knee or your
Toes
leg.
chopped.
White tennis shoes for the rest of your life.
There you go.
Wait a minute.
Because you ain't walking nowhere.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So that's the thing, being able to do that. And that's one of the things that I encourage men to do. Find that circle. Get into some therapy. Let's look at how do we begin to, peel back those layers to deal with those things that we are dealing with. COVID
So you don't traumatize other people.
Right. And COVID began to change a lot for people simply because, one, now.
Couldn't hide anymore, right?
That's right.
Exactly. You're sitting around a lot of people, whereas even men typically will go to a sports bar and watch a game. Men typically don't just sit, man, let's go grab something to eat. And we're going to sit and talk like women do. You know what I mean? Men typically don't do that. So you don't have those moments of, let me just share how my day went. Let me tell you what's going on type of thing, And so being able to free yourself and have those conversations truly makes a big difference in how you navigate this thing.
It validates your feelings so that you're not really suffering in silence and all by yourself. We think that we're the only ones going through things, but it's great to be able to see that other people are not just going through things, but they've gotten through things.
Well, that's how you get more motivation to continue to go through. When I got home after my father passed, he was at my house.
Shout out.
Him and his wife walked in the door, and all I could do was smile because that was my support, my circle. It was him. It was 4 people. And my wife.
Flashback.
Right. That wasn't the only time that they had to come and support me. I'll say that. It's been some other traumatic situations.
Suspect there.
I told you that we know each other. It goes deep. But you got to have that circle.
We all need somebody.
You have to.
And
You
as
have
much
to.
as people think they don't need people, we all need somebody. Even the people, like everybody here at this table, is in the helping field. And those are the people who really need people because you're so busy helping other people that you rarely get the help you need yourself.
So I will say this. Jason has called me because, like I shared earlier, I don't really know how to unpack my grief. And when he found out I went back to work, he said, yo, man, I'm calling you at 8:30 in the morning. You need to have a plan of when you're going to take off for you.
8:11.
Because,
And
like,
the producer never says anything during the show, but he was like 8:11 to be exact.
so, but that part of, like you said, because we're always concerned with everybody else, it's foreign to me. Everybody would call and say, man, what do you need? I don't know.
You don't even know what you need.
And my response was, whatever God tell you, that's what I need, because I don't even know how to articulate it.
That's the best response.
Because I just don't know. And
Shout out to your adoptive parents who are no longer with us in this regard, but still with us.
Johnny
through
and
you.
Carolyn Underwood.
Through you, absolutely. That's amazing.
Real deal. You know what I say?
I'm so sad that I didn't get a chance
From
to meet
home
them.
interior to just
Right,
Yeah.
right. It was crazy. My dad was 5'2".
Wait a minute.
So that's why Lulu was going to put it out there like, who you trying to fool with that tall child with that red hair?
Oh my! She had to tell you before you outgrew your father
Right.
immediately, because you were named after a man that was half your size.
Exactly.
And so she had to tell you immediately, because by second grade you was
on.
gonna be taller than your daddy.
That's right. I'm light skinned with blonde hair and he jet black. Yeah.
Oh my word!
So
She's
Lulu was going to let the cat out the bag.
It was not the milk, man. She wants you to know that I didn't step out on your daddy.
Exactly. Exactly.
He said, put it in the street. We gonna put it out there.
Right now.
I like the fact. Shout out to her for being honest.
You're not gonna make my sister look like she done something
Okay,
wrong.
she is not for the streets, and she made sure that you understood that. She's like,
Everybody got
don't
an
listen to
angle.
what nobody tell you.
That's right.
I'm telling you the truth, and that's what I appreciate too. Is that for people who are strong enough to stand in and speak their truth.
That's right.
And it's not always convenient for other people to hear it. It doesn't always feel great. But the fact is, we can deal with things if we know the truth.
That's right.
At least we can handle it. So I'm happy that you have been able to share your truth.
Absolutely.
And that you have some good people around you who will tell you the truth. Because we don't need people who will just tell us what we want to hear. But
want a
to
bunch
tell
of
you the
yes men.
truth, yeah. And I can't wait to have you come back, because I want to hear some more. And eventually, in due time, who knows, we might even have him and his mama.
Exactly.
In due time.
Hey.
And that sounds like a book. In due time. That's all
In
I'm
due
gonna say.
time.
I'm gonna leave it right there.
Absolutely.
Well, I am Dr. Richard Mason.
I'm Dr. Tamara Williams.
And we want to thank you for joining us once again at the table for another edition of Sunday Brunch right here on Smooth 88.1.
WHOV, the essence of HU.
Keep you forward.
Someday we'll be able to measure the power of words. I think they are things. I think they get on the walls. They get in your wallpaper. They get in your rugs, in your upholstery, in your clothes, and finally into you.
Thank you for joining us at the table.
Tune in next Sunday at 1 p.m. for more delicious topical recipes for life on the Sunday Brunch.
On Smooth 88.1 WHOV.